Welcome to Backwards Compatible, the retrospective podcast hosted by a couple of fake gamer guys who make shit up as they go. I'm your host, Garrett.
Oh, you like video games? Name 3 of their albums.
What?
And my name's Chase.
Nice to meet you again, Chase. It's been a bit.
Yeah, it's been a while since we recorded. A lot's changed in the gaming industry since we last spoke. Sonic the Hedgehog and E3 are dead.
Yeah, it's really bummed out that E3, took the boot.
You think Jeff Keighley's wife is looking at a news report of E3's cancellation? She gets a call from Jeff and he's like, "I won, Skylar. I won." Oh, also, Justin and I, friend of the show, we went and saw the Super Mario Brothers movie the other day.
Oh, how was that?
I really liked it. It was really fun. I'll admit, I was kind of doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of pointing at the screen and looking at all the reference of like, I know that, I get that reference, I'm a nerd.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, seeing all the little Easter eggs and references to not just Mario history, but video games and Nintendo games in general was really cool. But overall, the movie was really fun. I thought the performances were great. Chris Pratt wasn't as bad as I was expecting him to be, although to be fair, I definitely think the trailers didn't really give an accurate depiction of what Chris Pratt was bringing to the table. In the actual movie, he did a much better job. Although I do think Jack Black as Bowser and Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach definitely were the highlights of the movie.
So basically, it still sounded like Mario playing Chris Pratt then.
Yeah, I mean, not to say anything too super spoilery, this happens right at the beginning of the movie, but he does do the Mario voice, the "Let's-a go, it's-a me," and then it's like, do you think the accent's a little too strong? A little gimmicky, isn't it? Overall, a fun movie. Recommend it. You guys, you get some good laughs out of it.
Well, I am definitely going to be checking it out sometime this week. It sounds like I'll have some fun.
We're not here to talk about Mario, though. That was last episode. We are here to discuss Dying Light.
Ooh, that zombie spiritual successor to Dead Island, because Techland was the one to create this masterpiece. In gameplay, not in story.
Yes, Dying Light, released January 27th, 2015 for PC originally, developed by Techland and published by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment.
That's right. I want to say this zombie game is something that I wasted a lot of hours on. It's not that the side quests were super fun to follow. Sometimes they were kind of tedious, but other than that, it's a great time burner, and I actually enjoyed the DLC that came out with it.
Yeah, The Following, I believe it's called. It was a major expansion for the game.
And boy, oh boy, were my knickers so happy. I leaped for joy out of my bedroom after I finished the game.
Well, my history with the Dying Light series is a pretty limited one. I remember seeing the trailer for this game back in 2015 and being like, a zombie survival game. Neat. And that was the most I ever thought about it until Dying Light 2 came out, and I was like, oh hey, a sequel to that one game, that parkour game, neat. Wait, Jonas Scott is the main protagonist? That's pretty cool. And then that was the last I thought of Dying Light until you brought it up on this podcast. Yeah, it's a fine game. It's not bad by any means. It's definitely a serviceable action zombie survival game, but it's just not really my wheelhouse. I play games a lot for the story, the characters. Gameplay is up there, don't get me wrong. I can definitely appreciate it when a game goes out of the traditional wheelhouse of the industry and stuff and tries something new, but for Dying Light, it's just, yeah, it's a zombie survival game.
I will agree, it doesn't stray away too far from the formula. It tends to really expand a little bit more, but then it just kind of, I feel with it all kind of questioning the morality of the greater good and stuff like that, and going against a big bad evil corporation. To be honest, now I'm starting to think of Resident Evil right now.
You get what you kind of expect for it, and again, I'm coming across as overly harsh on this game that I didn't like it. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed my time with it. It just wasn't really my taste, it wasn't really my flavor of gaming. But if you people out there like it, then maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe I'm the one in the wrong. Prove me wrong, Garrett. What did you like about it?
Well, I think for us to really talk about how we like the game is to first talk about the gameplay. Because the gameplay to me, I just love the camera. The camera, I want to say, was very dynamic. And I want to say the skills that they also gave you during the skill tree was dynamic. You could personalize your entire experience.
I'm not a huge fan of weapon degradation in games. Breath of the Wild, especially, was really bad with that. That was my main criticism of that game. But
Mhm.
weapons in games that you can only use a limited number of times, and granted, in Dying Light, it is much more generous compared to other games, but I just don't really like that mechanic when I find a game that has it. I like to keep my weapons in tip top shape throughout the game as long as I want. Losing them, yes, it adds to the realism of it. I'm just not a fan of weapon degradation. Although I did like the crafting mechanic that you can combine various weapons together. That definitely led to some interesting results.
Yeah, and the favorite was whenever I made a electric type of knife or something like that, because you get that slashing and bleeding as well as some shocking damage. That was a hoot to really play around with. And I will say though, the weapon parts, like I actually really enjoyed the weapon degradation because it forced you to really inspect every crevice of this playground that Techland has made for you.
Yep, the Middle Eastern city of Harran.
Pretty much it was the slums, and the slums is pretty much takes up the big first part, and I really love the layout of it. It's actually kind of fun to at first be kind of bad at jumping from building to building when I revisited this game, but then after a while it felt like my core skills came back to me, and it was fun again. I actually enjoyed running around and parkouring, and actually it rewards you for doing things like such as killing zombies in creative ways. You get some XP for that. You are doing some fancy parkour work, some XP for that. And I find that type of progression very fun to me. And I think that's the big thing, that rewarding and that gets you that high adrenaline, especially the combat. Like if you upgrade the combat, you can become so awesome. This zombie horde is here. Oh, guess what? I'm gonna fling you all like a couple of rag dolls, sack you over my shoulder, and then plow into the enemy base.
Especially if you play during the day when the zombies are really slow and ineffective. Because that was also like the main gameplay selling point of Dying Light, hence the name Dying Light. The difficulty rises and falls depending on the time of day.
Mhm.
Like I said, zombies are slow and weak when the sun's out, but once the sun goes down,
They become a little bit more aggressive, and some other night creatures come around. So those volatiles,
ugh, yeah, those things were disgusting.
I love them. Can you just imagine, like, running away from these things? Oh, I'd be so scared. I would know I wouldn't make it.
What were those big zombies that exploded? The ones that were basically boomers from Left 4 Dead?
I think they're called bloaters or something like that. Those guys were so annoying in terms of, hey, I'm going to open this door. Ah, crap. There's a bloater behind it. Boom. Now I have 15 volatiles coming around. It's just insane. I know I had to lose them and then I had to play kicks with them. They are very scary, but once you get a hang of the game, they do not really come as crazy, I guess. I mean, they're still pretty hard, don't get me wrong, but eventually knowing that you overcome that task is very rewarding in itself. So, yeah, Techland just made basically a huge playground that you can just play in, and it's so great.
The developers really wanted to place an emphasis on freedom of movement for this game in
Mhm.
comparison to the game's precursor, Dead Island. They really wanted the player to be able to look at anywhere on the map and consider that a possible option to go to, hence the parkour mechanics.
And I love that they really made this land like based around the parkour mechanics, especially the zip lines that are placed, the ramps that lead you to the top of buildings at the end of them, and the gaps that do have like a trash bag on the side that you can jump onto if you feel like you need to drop down, or you can just jump across this gap right here, and guess what? You're still on the buildings and you still do some pretty gnarly stuff.
While we're here, let's talk about the concept of zombies in general, Garrett, because we kind of touched on it a little bit in our Last of Us episode,
Mhm.
but zombies, I feel like the early 2010s, late 2000s era, zombies were this huge trend. You had The Walking Dead, you had games like The Last of Us, Left 4 Dead. Zombies were just a huge thing back then. Like, there were a lot of zombie memes and whatnot back in those days, and I'm kind of of curious as to why. I remember seeing this, like, observation. I don't know how truthful this is or if this was just an anecdote someone made online, but who would lie on the internet? Certainly not us. You can trust us. We have a podcast.
Totally honest, yes.
Someone said that the huge zombie trend of the late 2000s, early 2010s era was due to economic anxiety because keep in mind that was the whole 2008 recession and all that, the housing market crash. And zombies were a societal manifestation of those worries, fears, and anxieties boiled over into like a more primal physical form. And I just think that's kind of interesting to think about. Zombies are a pretty common enemy in video games as well. I mean, I feel like every other game we've talked about on this show has had zombies as a main focal point. The fungus zombies in The Last of Us, you have, this is a movie, but 28 Days Later introduced us to running fast zombies. You have giant naked zombies in Attack on Titan. You have zombies that want to destroy your garden.
Plants vs. Zombies, man, that takes me back.
It was kind of funny in Dying Light. They actually refer to them as zombies, and that kind of threw me off a little bit because I'm so used to zombie stories. Just
Walkers.
Yeah, they're either walkers or the infected or whites or something like that. For them to just refer to them as, oh yeah, there's some zombies over there, I'm like, oh wow, you're actually saying zombies. We don't use the Z word. What about you, Garrett? Are you pro or anti-zombie?
I will say I am pro zombie because I really enjoy a good zombie game such as this. I do enjoy the concept of life and death and what could be after this life.
I think there's two different types of zombies. You have the older traditional zombies, which are the literal undead rising from the grave and seeking brains or flesh or whatnot. I mean, zombies originated, I believe, as part of Haitian folklore as menial labor. But then you have like the more modern interpretation of zombies, which they're more like a virus. They're living people who become infected. Their brain gets all crazy and they're cannibals. Which is why I think zombies are such a common video game enemy, is because they're the perfect enemy for the player. They are a shambling, dangerous creature that only wants to kill you. What game developer wouldn't want to put that into the game?
Minecraft.
I mean, they are in Minecraft.
Yep. I will say that zombies are made to be the easiest usually, but it's nice to see that people's creativity enhance the zombie formula to really become a more worthy adversary for the player. That's what I feel like zombies really is, because like how we are kind of a blank slate, like we do have some nurture things, but I mean nature things, but we also want to see some nurture stuff in there. And that's what I feel the potential of every zombie game can be something different. And that's what makes that genre good to me.
That's the kind of thing about zombies. They are humans broken down to their most primal animalistic tendencies. They are out for flesh and destruction. They are humans driven completely insane and violent with no capability of logic or reason or problem solving. They're humans brought down to their most animal-like form. I feel like part of the reason I may have had a little bit of a harsher outlook on this game is, if I'm being honest, the opening 5 to 10 minutes of this game did not make for a great first impression on me. Okay, here's how Dying Light opens. We open up in an airplane. We're playing as Kyle Crane. He is given a major exposition dump explaining that he has to drop down into the Middle Eastern city of Harran, which, by the way, 90% of the cast of this game are Middle Eastern, I believe. So who should the protagonist of this game be, Garrett? Should it be someone who can at least, blend in with the local population, not to arouse any suspicion? I know. Let's make it some random white guy from Chicago.
I will say, I kind of wish that, yes, I feel like they should have sent in somebody who wasn't, but
Well, they kind of did earlier. The character Amir, who dies in the beginning of the game, he
Right.
was a GRE operative, and he was actually, of Middle East descent. But yeah, Kyle Crane's whole thing is like, I'm supposed to blend in and not draw any suspicion to me. And I'm like, dude, you're like the only white guy with an American accent in this entire city.
The only other white guy that I can remember is Brecken, and then the other doctor. I can't remember.
Camden.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. But my point is I'm just like, man, we gotta shoehorn in a white guy from the USA to be the main character. Where was I? All right. The game starts off with this huge exposition dump. We drop right into the city, and immediately we're not attacked by zombies like you would expect. No, we're attacked by some of Rice's guys. Rice, a local warlord who seized control of parts of the city. We're attacked by some of his thugs, and then we're attacked by zombies. Then we are rescued by Jade and Amir. Amir dies. Then Jade brings Kyle to the tower where he's unconscious for 3 days. Then he wakes up and he meets Jade's younger brother, Raheem, I think his name was.
Yes, Raheem.
Yeah, who keeps calling Crane noob.
Truly a gamer word.
I mean, you gotta give respect to Raheem. He's a gamer. But, like, this all happens in the span of, like, 5 minutes, and I'm like, whoa, okay, slow down, hold on. What's going on? We've been introduced to, like, a dozen characters and, like, 3 different plot lines in the span of 5 minutes.
It is a lot at the beginning, and it's really hard to really make sense.
And it's all purely cutscene, too. You don't really get any actual gameplay control until you wake up in the tower, and even then, it's only walking around and talking to people. Like, not to put on my backseat developer cap here, but I just feel like a better way to have started this game off is after you drop down into the city, you're alone, you're attacked by some zombies, and this is where the basic combat and movement tutorial comes in, and then you're rescued by Jade and Amir or run into some of Rice's goons. I don't know, I just feel like that would have been a more organic way to ease the player into the story and setting. It just threw me for a loop and didn't set the best first impression on me because I'm like, whoa, we just got here and already we're knee deep into this. And yes, I know, it's supposed to place you in Crane's shoes. He is an outsider. He's overwhelmed by all of this. It puts you into his mindset, and that's fair, but I don't know. This is just how I felt about it.
Let's continue on with this story. By the way, y'all, the story is sort of the weaker part.
Yeah, it's a pretty by-the-numbers action movie, which, to be fair, this is what Techland wanted to go for. They wanted to give off a very Hollywood-esque action story plotline, so...
You can think of it as this. We do something that could benefit the tower, but then the GRE, the employers of Crane, are like, burn it. And then we go to the tower and be like, hey, I don't have any. Let's interact with this Rice guy, because that's the whole thing. We're trying to get some file from this guy.
Well, Crane is sent into the city because he's looking for a cure for the zombie virus.
Well, he's not really sent for a cure yet. He's more trying to, like, find some antizin, which is sort of a symptom suppressant and just delays the inevitable.
Oh yeah, because in the opening cutscene, that's another thing. Crane got bitten and he's now infected. That's why he needs antizin to stave off the infection spread.
Now, I would have liked if they had something like you had to get a shot of antizin and there was antizin around. I would have liked that. I don't know if other people would, considering maybe people might be in it for the story, but then you could just add a story mode for it.
I will say this, I do think Crane's voice actor, Roger Craig Smith, he's doing a pretty good job, but I mean, it is Roger Craig Smith. He's the current voice of Sonic the Hedgehog, and he also voiced Chris Redfield for a number of years in the Resident Evil series, so this ain't his first undead rodeo.
And by the way, he also plays Mirage in Apex Legends.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the same guy. So then we go, good Rise. He does his big psychopathic speech as we walk in and he's chopping off a guy's hand. And then we do some work for him. Well, guess what? We get screwed over by Rise. And now it's just questioning the GRE's morals because they keep on wanting to expend the lives of people in the tower to save their reputation. And Crane, it just sits uneasy with him. So eventually him and the GRE cut ties as for now. Rice kidnaps Jade. We go save Jade, help like with finding some vaccinations. We help save the city, but eventually it all leads down to this final fight that's on top of the cranes. Hey,
look, it's Crane on a crane, and it's Rise on a high rise.
Man, what kind of battleground was this? This was I hate how like it sort of ends. It ends on QTE events.
I feel like QTE things are definitely a tired mechanic these days. You don't really see them anymore. I think Resident Evil 4 Remake took out all the QTE events from the original game, so that just kind of goes to prove the point. This was kind of the tail end of this era of QTE events being in critical gaming moments, although they still crop up from time to time. It's just a very unsatisfying way to end a game's final boss as a QTE. But man, Rice just will not die. Crane cuts his hand off like 2/3 of the way through the story, and when Rice's voice actor, Jim Peary, I think his name is, the way he screams Crane's name in anger
Mhm.
and rage after he gets his hand cut off, like that was top-notch voice acting right there.
I could believe the rage and the confusion that Rise just, now has realized he lost his hand. He's so freaking mad at Crane.
Maybe Rice's voice actor was late to work due to a construction accident at some point, and that's why he hates Crane so much. Don't forget the little Assassin's Creed moment of introducing the parkour mechanics when Raheem's like, hey, watch this, and then he jumps down like 8 floors down to a pile of garbage bags.
Oh yeah, leap of faith. I was half expecting to get an eagle screech.
You think Ubisoft is gonna give that out for free? Talk about some of the side quests here.
Well, I'll only talk about one side quest because really this side quest I always do. It's Mother's Day.
Is this Ghazi?
Yep, Guzzy.
Harran's local cinephile.
Ghazi is taking care of his mother and sort of sends you on a shopping trip to go get some chocolates and a movie. You break into these areas, and I think the movie one, it sets off an alarm, which might be the first time you're ever exposed to virals if you're doing this in the daytime. Those are like the running zombies, basically. Like that portion of it always scares me because I feel like I'm going to get trapped and die every time, and usually I do. But what was not really the most stressful was lockpicking that sucker while there's zombies literally to my six. So that's what I really love about their lockpicking mechanic, though. They do not stop time. You are lockpicking as there are things going on behind you. So you best hope that they're not close enough to just whack you in the head. So leading to the end. Oh yeah, shoot, I forgot you need to like get some anti-seizure medication. Like that's the whole big thing about this thing cuz Ghazi has been storing this up, anti-seizure medication, forever. So when you go back to Ghazi to kind of do the trade, he's like, "Okay, thank you. Bye." He shuts the door in front of your face, doesn't give you any of the medicine. And so then you go through the roof and then you finally see Ghazi's mother is a doll.
Well, she's what, like a sack of flour and a painted bucket on in the shape of a smiley face,
Mhm.
and it says mother on it. I thought it was kind of cute, a little creepy, a little psycho, but
But he's not a bad guy. He just is coping with his mother's death.
you meet with some other characters later and you mention him, and they're like, oh, that's just Ghazi, did you meet his mom? She's nice, isn't she? That was a fun side quest, but there's two other characters that you meet running around while working for Rice, I believe. The engineer brothers, Tolga and Fatin. These two guys, alright, so they are the definition of pretentious asshole genius. They are the smartest guys in the cities, ostensibly, and they will rub it in Crane's face. They're like, okay, let me explain this to you. We need duct tape. You know what that means, don't you? And Crane's like, yeah, I know what duct tape is.
Yeah, they just act like he's the dumb scum of the earth, but they do back it up with the inventions that they actually make.
They definitely earn their reputation as the main engineers around town. It's just, man, these guys are so condescending.
Pretentious dicks.
I do like one of their quotes where they're like, he's American. The metric system only angers him.
Yeah, that was probably the one of the better lines of Dying Light.
Yeah, those guys were fun.
Well, let's get to a little bit more of Dying Light. Let's talk about the multiplayer. So you could do co-op mode with up to 4 players, but there were also games such as Night Hunter, where the other 3 players, 3 or 4 players, I can't remember, go out and they are destroying nests. And they have all their means to sort of swing from building to building just about as fast as the Night Hunter, but not faster. Because the Night Hunter is insane in terms of movement and combat. So you need to scare off the Night Hunter, either kill the Night Hunter or kill all the nests that are around. And that game mode was really fun. I especially enjoyed being the Night Hunter themselves. Fear me.
I am the knight.
Yeah, exactly. Your inner Batman comes in. When I played it and wasted those afternoons, that's what I mostly played after the story. But there was a DLC that came out.
Right. The Following, released on February 9th, 2016.
Man, the following was a step up in terms of story and gameplay.
The map was twice as big as Harran from the base game.
And you need a car to even get around. Oh, wait, here's a car right here. They actually give you a car to drive around and actually take care of and upgrade. And now you're just this beast driving around. You can mow down zombies. You can do awesome tricks with it. It really opened up the capabilities of the game.
They also got a little bit more creative with the story elements because this expansion is all about Crane earning the trust of a crazy religious cult, the Children of the Sun, led by the Faceless.
It's just like so interesting. They even refer to her as mother. The great mother. There's so much mystery behind it. And when you go to see the faceless and all that, I felt so creeped out, but so engaged.
The Faceless are a really interesting group of characters. Their designs, their motivations, the way they carry about their worship, their interactions with Crane, it's just, yeah, I was really enjoying the Faceless.
That blue gas has so much significance. So they go into the crowd and they sort of start swinging their pendulum, and the incense is sort of burning and coming out of there, and it's blue. You start hearing a voice inside your head. It's the mother. The mother has asked Crane's assistants to help the people. So you help her out, and you are actually can take these side quests, and these side quests are actually amazing. There was one side quest that I remember, or it might have been part of this main story, but you climb this mountain, and with this mountain, you sort of learn more and more about the faceless, and you learn more and more about the mother. And there's this painting where, like, the mother, I believe, is like painted in red and has sort of like a sun behind them with a circle of white figures, which are the faceless. To me, that was so ominous. But then right past it is this beautiful scenery. And so it was very interesting. But the mother at this time is telling you about the power of the sun. She basically tells you when you meet up with her, let's bomb the entire countryside, she says. Well, Kyle Crane can decide to do so. You can also decide to fight back from the mother. And by the way, the mother is a volatile. Yeah, she retains her sentience as long as the sun is up. But when the sun goes down, she turns into like every other volatile. The urge is just too great.
I really like this take on a zombie infection, where it kind of follows, I guess, werewolf pseudo rules, where during the day, you're more or less a relatively functional human. She has telepathic powers still, but during the night, she devolves into a zombie. And that's just a really interesting philosophical question and concept right there. I really like that one.
And this boss fight is so fun. You start out in this big dam area, and it's sort of like a maze.
Now, when you say big damn area,
dam as in like Hoover Dam or something like that, it's
the
just
building dam.
Yeah, the building, not dam as in DAMN. Don't worry, not on my Christian server.
I mean, we do have that explicit tag. We can say fuck all we want.
We have a quota. So you're fighting in there, and at first it feels like you need to take it really safe because she is no pushover. She really just rips into your health. I was so scared for so long, and I felt like playing cat and mouse while trying to like hit her with the small windows that she reveals. But then eventually you start turning more and more into a zombie. And that's sort of how the game ends. You go back through this tunnel, and there's a family of children, family playing in the playground area. And they run to their mother, and the mother is comforting them. Crane doesn't understand, but he looks at his hands and realizes that he's a volatile now. And as the sun goes down, a scream is heard.
Hey, look, crane on a crane. Isn't that wacky? Yeah. But you can choose to listen to the mother. This is the other option you're given. And if you listen to her, then Crane just activates a nuke and blows up the city. So either way, Crane is not getting out of the events of the expansion alive, one way or the other.
Say goodbye.
I mean, let's talk about Kyle Crane. Good old Kyle Crane. He is action hero man.
So Kyle Crane definitely started out to me not very a likable character.
It's the typical, kind of douchey action guy of like, I'm here to kick ass and take names and get what needs to be done, no matter the cost. But then he goes through a character arc and he becomes more sympathetic to the plight of the people.
Yeah, and really, to me, it feels like a robotic crane because the crane I feel in the following is different than the crane that is in the base game.
Well, by the end of the base game, after he kills Rise and saves the city, he realizes my work here needs to continue. I can't just abandon these people. I have to help them. He does save the city from the bombing of the GRE, and not a second too soon. If he had been literally any second later in calling off the jets, Harran would be a pile of rubble. It was that close.
It was insane. And also, it's so sad that the people who are outside, sort of like performing these acts, I don't know, it's just basically big wigs telling the small man to do their dirty work.
That is kind of the theme of this game, is power and abuse of authority and all that. Most exemplified by Rice, but you also have the GRE. Man, poor Raheem and Jade.
Yeah, in the base game, Raheem and Jade do die.
They get infected, and Crane has to kill both of them. Man, Raheem was just unfortunate tragedy.
I didn't really feel super close to him as much as they wanted me to.
How old is Raheem? I think he's supposed to be like 16 or something.
I don't know, 16 or 18. You want to know what sucks? He was supposed to fly on a plane to America the day of the outbreak. Ugh.
Yeah, that's the thing I always think about in apocalypse stories. If you've ever seen the movie Cloverfield, the characters were going to leave the city the next day before the giant monster attacked, and I always think of like, man, just a day later and everything would have been fine for them.
I always love that aspect, just being like, time to really put my game face on.
We're just killing time until time kills us. There was time now. There was time now.
I really enjoy those perspectives. And yeah, Raheem is dead because he concealed a bite wound and wanted Crane to blow up this volatile nest to make the area safer. And Jade dies helping you fight Rise and his goons.
The eyes on infected Jade were just so freaky looking, how bloodshot they were and sunken. Seeing Jade, this previous character who had been a really empathetic person and really helpful to Crane, and seeing her reduced to this animal primal state against her will like everyone else is just...
It's sad.
Man, Rice is such a fucked up guy.
I will say it's very tragic to what happens to the leaders that we meet. I think even Becker...
And Zara, don't forget the Dr. Zara, who makes the cure, or at least was making progress on him.
Yeah, so Rise kills Zara. I forgot exactly what happens to Becker. I think he commits suicide.
He's just a parkour instructor, man. He wasn't cut out for this leadership shit.
I think he was even about to leave too.
Part of the reason why there's a lot of different accents in this game in the city of Harran is because there was like a Olympic sporting event going on right before the zombie outbreak happened. That's also why there's so many fucking zombies in this city.
He was staying for the event, but also doing some parkour lessons to kind of like make some money. Pretty much pay rent and bills.
I forget, who was Rice before this apocalypse started? Like, what's his backstory?
Politician and had a brother. The brother died, then he blames the GRE, and that's how he sort of became super corrupt and all that. I don't know if he was corrupt before then.
I mean, he's a politician. Take what you will. I mean, look how Rice turned out the moment shit hit the fan. I think Rice was waiting. He was waiting for an excuse to just start gunning people down.
I think like there might be some merit to that. I'm not really a Rice like sympathizer. I just like to keep an open mind on the story because I actually have no clue.
He's the typical might makes right kind of guy. As he explains to Crane during their final encounter, his whole outlook on life, his philosophy is, I'm the most violent person. Violence gets results. If you're not cut out to survive in this world, then you can just die. That kind of thing. Gotta give it to Rice, though. He would not die. Crane is stabbing him. He's lost his hand, and it's only after he stabs him in the neck and pushes him off the tower that Rice is finally dead.
Camden, he kind of felt like the same character as the first Doctor, but had just like a better lab and stuff like that. Because Camden and what's the guy's name again?
Amir, the other GRE agent.
No, Camden, and there was the other doctor. I think the other doctor,
Zara.
yeah, Dr. Zara. But I thought they were together before the outbreak.
They were. Camden and Dr. Zara, they were supposed to be extracted by the other GRE agent, Amir, but things kind of happened before that was able to occur. I really like Dr. Zara. He was just a kind old man who wanted to genuinely help and heal people.
Man, he just had a heart of gold in a city of corruption.
His dying wish to Crane after Rice executes him is, these people don't deserve it. The music?
The music I found, okay, let's talk about base game, was very subtle and kind of made you want to turn around and look to your back because the music is everything in this sort of environmental storytelling that Dying Light has. The music was directed by Paweł Blaszczak, I believe is how you pronounce it, who's previously composed music for games like The Witcher and Dead Island.
Because Techland is a Polish developer.
And Blaszczak was inspired by 1970s and 80s. He considered a sadder tone in music to be better for post-apocalyptic settings. That was amazing. And I do feel the dread and hopelessness from the atmosphere.
Yeah, like you said, it adds to the sense of atmosphere, tension, anxiety, but also melancholic longing over the destruction of this once beautiful city and its inhabitants. Calling back to the 70s and 80s, I think, was a really smart choice because that era had a lot of very not down to earth, but just very grounded, gritty, apocalyptic stories and films and action movies. It was definitely an appropriate choice to go in that direction for a game like Dying Light, which very much takes inspiration from that era of Hollywood.
Moving on to the following, I really enjoyed the main menu music and the loading screen music. The piano sort of just playing, sort of honestly, man, I cannot get over how many times I have literally listened to 3 minute or even 24-hour YouTube as I was like doing homework and stuff. Makes me so focused and so eerie, but yet so beautiful. It's kind of like finding beauty in the danger.
It's always so great when a work of art can inspire that emotion in you. I
Yeah.
really appreciate when something does that. The Last of Us was, of course, the prime example of that.
Damn, that guitar.
Speaking of which, did you finish watching the Last of Us series on HBO?
Believe it or not, no.
I watched it and it was really good. I really enjoyed the Last of Us series. Pedro Pascal was phenomenal as Joel, and Bella Ramsey was perfect casting for Ellie. Really great series.
I think it's great. Like, even though they don't look like the characters, I
thought Pascal looked pretty close to Joel.
Yeah, he did. But I'm just saying that a lot of people were throwing fits about Ellie being like different and all, and I'm just like, it's perfect. It still looks like Ellie. Yeah, it may not look exactly like Ellie, and y'all are kind of butthurt about it, but
the way they were able to depict the clickers and bloater in the series, just so skin crawlingly uncomfortable to look at.
Well, don't tell me too much because I still need to watch it.
We are living in a golden age of video game adaptations. People have pointed to the Last of Us series as like final proof that video game adaptations can work, but I'm over here looking at animation like Castlevania, Arcane. Now, to be fair, I know, the excuse for those is, well, they're not based directly off the source material, they just take inspiration from the setting and characters, and, fair, but I'm like, they're still based off of video game IP, so we've been getting some pretty decent video game adaptations for a couple years now.
Dude, I can't wait for Castlevania 2 to come out.
Gonna get me some Richter.
Yeah, Richter. And it's been a couple of generations, so it's nice to see sort of the figure of Trevor Belmont into Richter.
Where's my live-action adaptation of God of War starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Tom Holland? Where's my Metal Gear Solid series, HBO? They're making a Twisted Metal TV series, and I'm just like, I mean, sure, but of all games to do an adaptation of, it's one of the more deeper cut ones, I guess. But anyway, Dying Light.
Dying Light, a game that really set the pace of great zombie action and actually bringing it back in what, 2022 or was it
That was another reason I never got into the sequel, Dying Light 2, because, oh wow, Jonas Scott is in this one, and wow, the gameplay looks fun. Maybe I'll give Dying Light 2 a chance. And then Elden Ring came out. And that kind of consumed my gaming attention for like the next several months.
I can't wait to really do it, both Dying Light 2 and Elden Ring.
Both of those games are not going to be for a few more years at the very least. We'll get to them when we get to them. We'll have some things to say about Elden Ring for sure.
All right, well, I think that's all I can say about Dying Light. It was a zombie game that really inspired many to get back into the genre and showed what the genre can give.
Has there been a major AAA zombie game since Dying Light? Not counting Dying Light 2? I'm trying to think.
Not as its main focus.
There was that Left 4 Dead clone. What was it? Back for Blood or something? And what about Redfall? Wait, is Redfall zombie? But yeah, zombies haven't really gone away. It's not like the zombie is a dead genre. Dead genre, huh? I get it. Like I said, they're the perfect game enemy archetype. There's always going to be zombies. I just think Dying Light was kind of the tail end of the zombie craze of the early to mid 2010s, and I don't think we've really seen a game quite like Dying Light heavily focus on zombies since then. But I could be wrong. There's probably like 10 different AAA zombie games out there that I'm going to feel so stupid the moment I think about. I'm going to smack my head and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. And I definitely think we're going to get some emails about it. I've been reading your emails out there.
Why? What are they saying?
We've actually been getting some pretty positive feedback. And if you would like to leave us some feedback, then you can email us at backwardscompatiblepod@gmail.com, or you could leave us a review on your preferred platform of choice.
Well, that's about it. I've been your host, Garrett.
And I've been your host, Chase.
See you again next time. GRE are messing with their stuff again.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the frickin' zombies gay.
Damn it!